Enroll your child with the manifested e-learning platform and see their grades grow tremendously. These videos can be downloaded to a laptop for offline viewing or viewed from a smartphone in a cost-friendly format.
How do you do, learners? Welcome back to Manifested e-learning platform. I'm Philip, your social studies teacher. And still under physical environment, on today's session, we shall be learning about economic activities in a map. Economic activities in a map, still under physical environment. Physical environment, under which today we are looking at economic activities. Economic activities. Economic activities. Economic activities are those activities that people engage in to earn themselves a living, to earn money. Those are what we call economic activities. And in this instance, we shall be looking at economic activity in a given area. So examples of these economic activities, examples of economic activity that you might find in an area, examples includes farming, yeah, the economic activity might be farming. Number two, mining. Yes, people might be engaging in mining. Number three, fishing is a renowned economic activity in Kenya. We shall get to know how you're supposed to know there is mining in a certain area or a given area. Mining, we have trading. Trading is a big economic activity, especially in urban areas. Other economic activity like transport, an economic activity, earning living to so many Kenyans. We have economic activity like lumbering, just to mention a few. These are examples of economic activities that you might find in a map. And these economic activities, they earn a living to those people who are practicing them. Now, to start with maybe farming, let's explain farming and what you're supposed to look for when it comes to farming as an economic activity. For one, farming, there are so many types of farming. Number one, for instance, we might be having what we call cash crop farming. Cash crop farming, that's a type of farming. Food crop farming. Food crop farming is another type of farming. Livestock keeping. Livestock keeping. Livestock keeping. All these are categories of farming. Farming, the definition, of course, of farming is growing of crops and rearing of animals. So, whenever there is cash crops in the map, these are the like of cash crops like tea, coffee, cotton, sugarcane, sisal. These are not food crops. And if they happen to be the only ones in that area and in the name of farming, then the type of farming that we shall say they are practicing is cash crop farming, because it is purely for cash crops. Food crop farming, maybe there is maize, there are beans, vegetables. Then we shall say that in that area what they have in the name of farming is food crop farming. And in case they have both of them, cash crops and food crops, then we shall say they have mixed farming. Mixed farming. Mixed farming is made up of both cash crops. Cash crops are there, Cash crops are there and food crops are also there. Cash crops and food crops, if they are both there, then whatever they are practicing in that area is called mixed farming. Then livestock keeping. Livestock keeping, how will you know that they are keeping livestock in that area? And not food crop and not cash crop is specifically livestock farming. There will be a cattle dip, for instance. A cattle dip. A cattle dip. A cattle ranch. A cattle dip. A cattle ranch. A slaughterhouse. Slaughterhouse is where livestock are slaughtered to be transported to the market. We don't slaughter food crops or cash crops. We slaughter livestock. So when you come across a slaughterhouse, that place they are practicing livestock keeping. Cattle dip, livestock keeping. Cattle ranches, livestock keeping. Zero grazing unit, cattle keeping. So these are some of the things that are supposed to tell you this farming is happening, this one is not happening. This farming is happening and this one is not happening. Number 2, let's go to mining. Let's explain some aspect of mining. Mining is number 2. B, we have mining. B, mining as an economic activity in an area. Remember that mining is the removal of minerals from the ground. The extraction of minerals from the ground is what we call mining, and the people who do mining are called miners. Now, how will you know that an area we have mining? These are some of the things that you'll be looking for. E.g., examples, quarry. Quarry. A quarry tells you that there is mining. And which minerals are being mined in a quarry? They are stones or rocks. A quarry. Then we have sand pits. Sand pits. Sand pits. That means that they are mining sand. And that's another form of mining. Sand pit. Sand pit. Maram pit. If it is not sand pit, then they have maram pit. Maram pit. Sand pit. Quarry means there is mining. Means there is mining. But I have to warn you about mining. Sometimes they write an exhausted mine, an exhausted sand pit, an exhausted maram pit. That means what? Mining was there, but it is no longer there. Mining was there, but it does not happen anymore. It is an exhausted. So in case there is an exhausted quarry, there is no mining. If there is, in case there is an exhausted sand pit or maram pit, exhausted or abandoned mine pits or sand pits or quarry means that economic activity does not exist anymore. So be very, very careful when you are reading the key for those words like abandoned or exhausted. Let's go to fishing. Number 3, economic activity, fishing. Fishing. How will you know that there is fishing in a map? How will you know that there is fishing in a map? This one is a little bit tricky if you are not careful. Fishing is the removal of fish from the water, is harvesting of fish from water. Now, the mere presence of a lake or a river or an ocean or a dam does not necessarily mean there is fishing. And it is important, I repeat that if you see a lake or an ocean or a dam or even a river, it doesn't mean there is fishing. Because we have lakes that don't have fish. We have rivers that don't have fish. We have dams that do not actually have fish. So there must be some specific things that are right here that are telling you there is fishing. There is fishing. Examples. Examples of those things. Fish traps. Fish traps. Now, there is fish. If there is fish traps in the map, there is fishing. Economic activity. Fish nets. Fish nets or fishing nets. Indeed, there is fishing. Fish factories. Fish factories. Fishing boats. Fishing boats. There is fishing. Fish ponds. Fish ponds. There is fishing. These are very, very specific things that with no any benefit of doubt, there is fishing. There is fishing. Absolutely. Fish traps, there is fishing. Fish nets, fish factories, fishing boats, fish ponds, all of them, they tell you there is fishing. And I want to repeat my warning. I have said that just a lake or a river or a dam does not necessarily mean there is fishing. There is fishing. Now, let's go to trading. 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 Now, trading is the exchange of goods and services. The exchange of goods and services is what we call trading. What will tell us that there is trading in an area? Number one, market. A market. What happens in a market? Trading. A town. A town or an urban area. There is no urban area without trading. A town or an urban area. A commercial center. All of them means there is trading in the map. All of those means that there is trading in the map. We have transport. 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 What are some of the things that will tell us that there is transport in the map? The transport modes such as roads, railways, railway or railways, there might be many, airports, airports or seaports, means there is transport. Transport is the movement of people and goods from one place to another. And I want to mention that transport is one of the main economic activities that you'll be coming across when it comes to map interpretation and reading. Transport. Then finally, according to our list here, we have what we call lumbering. 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 And this one is a very, very simple one. And whatever will show that there is lumbering in the map, lumbering in the map is a sawmill. A sawmill. A sawmill. A forest only does not mean there is lumbering, because lumbering is actually the exploitation of the timber, and the exploitation or the processing of the timbers takes place in a sawmill. So whatever that will show you that there is lumbering is a sawmill, not a forest, not a forest. These are some of the main economic activities that we normally come across when it comes to map interpretation, and they are very, very major. And for that case, it's good to give an example in a map setting. An example, in a very good example in a map setting. In a map setting. In a map setting. This is a map. Assuming this is our map here. This is our map here. And of course, we have an economic activity here that I have not even mentioned in my list, but I'll be adding it. There is a game park. 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 What does a game park means? Or which economic activity is associated with game park? That is tourism. 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 A game park is where we conserve our wildlife. and tourists come in the game parks to pay visit to the wildlife, and they pay money, a lot of money in the form of foreign exchange. That is tourism. So the presence of a game park means there is tourism, and not necessarily game park, might be a game park or a game reserve or a game reserve or a game reserve or a game sanctuary or a game sanctuary or game sanctuary or sandy beaches. Sandy beaches, they means there is tourism. Sandy beaches means there is tourism. A museum means there is tourism. So there are so many things that can depict the presence of tourism, not necessarily a game park. I've said it can be a game reserve, it can be a game sanctuary, sandy beaches, or a museum for that matter, So we have a game park there, we have a road, and we have said a road will show you an economic activity in the name of transport, and here maybe in the road junction, and mostly a road junction attracts the formation of a town, and a town will have trade. We have talked about town and trading. Town and trading is them, and we can have a river flowing from maybe this direction. We can have a river. And a lake there, and in the lake we have fish traps. There is fish traps there. Here there is a forest. There is forestry here, and that forestry there is a sawmill there, and probably we also have a quarry there, and there is a railway there, And maybe to top it up, we can have a factory. And this factory is tea factory. Now, that's a good example of a map. And we want to identify some of the economic activities that are carried out in this map. Now, as I had started by explaining, is that if this is a game park, then the economic activity that is happening around this area is tourism. Tourists are coming to this area in the game park to see our wildlife, and they are paying game park. We have a quarry here. So the economic activity around this area is mining. A quarry symbolizes that there is mining. Not unless in the key it is indicated is an abandoned quarry or an exhausted quarry, as I had earlier explained. It's good to talk about this railway here. And railway is also a form of economic activity in the name of transport, railway. This railway is likely to transport this mineral. This railway here is likely to transport this mineral. There is no way this railway is likely to transport sawmill, timber, because you can see the distance between the two of them is very far. So this railway is likely to transport minerals. We can have another explanation of a sawmill here. Then the economic activity here is lumbering. This is lumbering economic activity around there. That is lumbering. Lumbering economic activity is there. Tea factory. Tea factory. And I want to be very, very, very categorical that when it comes to cash crop farming or even food crop farming, sometimes there will not be any crop. There will be factories. For instance, our examples of factories that can be brought there is maybe a ginnery factory in the map. A ginnery or a jaggery. It's good to mention this. A ginnery, a jaggery, a posho mill. You're waiting for a crop. Now you don't get a crop. What you encounter are these names. These names means those are industries. But these industries, they process specific crops. Like for a ginnery, it processes cotton. So the presence of a ginnery means there is cotton. A jaggery processes sugarcane. So the mere presence of a jaggery, it means there is sugarcane in that map. Posho mill means there is maize, and not necessarily maize, and other cereals like wheat, which are processed in a mill. So presence of a tea factory means there is cash crop farming. These ones tells us there is cash crop farming. These people are doing cash crop farming. We have not been shown where they are growing the crops, that crop in the tea, but we have a factory. And a factory means that crop is in that area. We have fish traps. This means there is fishing in that area. Around the lake, there is economic activity fishing. Literally because there is a fish trap. Tea factory, there is cash crop farming. Sawmill, there is lumbering. Quarry, there is mining. Road, there is of course transport. There is a town here. And inside the town, in most cases, you'll see permanent building in the town. And if there is one thing that is never absent in a town, is trading. There is no single town or urban area or even a town, urban area or a town that does not have trading. It does not exist. So these are some of the economic activity very well illustrated in a map. And in most cases, they will even ask you which one of the following economic activity is not carried out in the map. Which of the following economic activity is not carried on the map? Then you are supposed to go through naming them one after the other, so that you understand which one is there, which one is not there, which one is there, which one is not there. So that is exactly what we are supposed to know about economic activity is, one, identify the economic activity by pinpointing. You can't say there is mining without getting a pinpoint evidence of mining evidence. You can't say there is fishing without a pinpoint evidence in the map that there is fishing. So this is exactly how we identify the economic activities that are carried out in the map. In the name of farming, we have gone through the farming, and there are 4 types of farming: cash crop farming, food crop farming, both of them, mixed farming, livestock keeping. In the name of cattle dip, cattle ranch, slaughterhouses, they all tell you that there is livestock keeping. Lumbering, we have explained lumbering. There will be a sawmill, not a forest. Lumbering is where trees are processed. Mining, presence of a quarry, a sand pit or a marram pit, and not an abandoned or exhausted. You have to be very, very careful there. Fishing, there are so many things that can say fishing, can indicate fishing. Fish ponds, fish boats, fish factories, fish net, fish traps, all of them suggest there is fishing in that area. Not a lake, not a river, not a dam. These are some of the things that will pinpoint to you exactly that there is fishing. Trading, presence of a market, presence of a town, presence of an urban area or a municipality, then that one tells you there is trading. Tourism, presence of a game park, a game reserve, a game sanctuary, sandy beaches and museum. Just to mention a few, will show you there is tourism in the map. And that is that for that session. Now, what I'll do, I'll give you your map. I'll draw you a map, and yours at home is to identify the economic activities you can see in that map. I'll draw a map, yours is to identify economic activities in that map. So here you go. This is your assignment. Your assignment. Let me have a map for you, just like this one, just like the one that I have drawn. That is your map here. And in this map, yours is to tell us which economic activity you can see from the map. Which economic activities you can see from the map. Economic activities you can see from the map. Economic activities you can see from this map. Yeah, and for now, you can start with that example. And the question will be one. Name. Let me write that question for you over here. Use that map. Identify at least five. Identify at least 5 economic activity carried out in the map. Identify. Question is identify 5 economic activities. Carried out in the map. Identify 5 economic activities carried out in the map. And when I'm talking about the map, this is the map that I'm referring to. You will come and identify 5 economic activities that are carried out in this map according to what we have done. And with that, thank you for being attentive. Do your assignment, forward it. I shall see you next time. Thank you. God bless.